On the heels of Olustee, the Battle of Olustee, the Confederate forces pursued the Federal forces back into the safety of Jacksonville. In doing so, they chased them about 30 miles to this point, Camp Milton, where they built earthworks, abattis, lunettes, rifle pits, etc. They basically fortified this area. General Beauregard, who was the overall commander of this sector of the Confederacy, ordered earthworks be built along a 3-mile line to essentially keep the Federals in Jacksonville, but prevent them from getting over to the rail stations in Baldwin. Baldwin's fairly close by. Jacksonville proper, we're actually I think in Jacksonville City right now because it's expanded over the years to be so huge, but Jacksonville town back then was probably about 10 miles west of here, or east of here. What makes this place significant is out of 3 miles of earthworks, there are 750 feet that have been excavated and confirmed to be earthworks. This was a sector of it. It was 3 miles long. 750 feet is very, very small by comparison, but it's probably the most extensive earthwork known in the state of Florida. I've seen a lot of earthworks in Virginia, Mississippi, West Virginia, but very few in Florida. There are a few. There's over Live Oak, Swanee River, they have a couple that are remaining there. But this is compelling. Now, to the untrained eye, you're not going to see much. If you can even see through the camera that there's a raised hump of dirt here, you're doing well. But someone who knows what they're looking for, this is exciting. An earthwork was basically a fort. It consisted of dirt, as the name suggests, and also logs. They would have used logs extensively buried into the ground, but the earth would have helped not only keep the logs where they in place, but they would have also, the earth also would have softened the blow of the of the rounds, the shots, the artillery cannonballs. The Civil War technology was so much further advanced than technology had been 60, 70 years before, where they were building forts made out of brick and concrete, coquina, whatever, that could withstand the artillery of that day. The artillery in the Civil War knocked those forts down completely. But basically anything that uses force that hits something that absorbs that force, in this case the earth, is going to be very effective in protecting the people behind it. This camp consisted of, at one point, 8,000 CSA troops, 430 artillery pieces, they estimate. There's fire pits excavated around this park, and there's also numerous other places along where they believe the earthworks extended that exist to this day, but they're on private land. They haven't been able to see a lot of them. Most of the earthworks completely plowed over, but these remain. So we're going to take a slow, brief look at these. And again, most people aren't going to see anything other than just some woods. The woods have grown up since the battle. This whole area was clear, as is typical with any of these battles. So we're just going to walk around and try to get some kind of an idea of what we're looking at. And I hope it comes through the camera. It might come through better on a bigger screen, but you can see it with the naked eye very well. These are parts of the earthworks. They run down to the left quite a ways. This is the end of them. This is probably the least bushy part. The nature of archaeology is such that they don't want to disturb this area, so that they can't come in with bushwhackers or something like that and just mow all this undergrowth down. But this is it. I'm standing right now where Confederate troops would have stood. in 1864. And this park exists to showcase this geological feature. I don't know if this comes through. I can't really see in the viewfinder if it does, but it's the difference between the raised ground and the lowered ground. It's like the Park Service has cut down one of the bigger pine trees, I guess, must have rotted out at the top. See, there's a very clear line here of earthwork fortifications. "750 feet. Not anywhere near as well defined or as evident as Vicksburg or Chancellorsville or the Wilderness, especially Fredericksburg. Seen a lot of. You can just go through the Wilderness, Fredericksburg areas and see, you can drive along and just see miles and miles and miles of earthworks remaining. And here they are all completely covered in undergrowth. But again, to me right here in person, excuse me, I'm seeing very clearly that these are earthworks. If I were to run across these not having known what they are, I would say definitely that's what they are. Excuse me. This is a reproduction, a very esoteric reproduction, and incomplete as well, of what the earthworks would have looked like. They would have been taller, they would have been bigger in the front, and they would have been vastly more extensive in the back. But this is an interesting thing that they've done here. I like it. They've done representations of basically, you know, what it would look like back then, to a degree, to a small degree. Okay, so what we're looking at right now are basic firing holes. You would have had the slit between the top log and the bottom log. There would have been more logs on top of it, on top of the top one. There would have been a smaller hole. All you needed was for a rifle to stick out. But, and these were not Home Depot, you know, throw them up kit purchases. This was, you grabbed that tree over there, you hewed it up, you slayed it down. And if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, you made it work. So, you know, it's part of that whole process. But it would have been much deeper, bigger, more extensive. But again, I like what they've done here. When you look at period photographs, that's the way it really was. And here, like this, you have the angle for troops to re-enter. Is it right there? There we go. Couldn't find it. Yeah, that would be for troops. If troops had to sally forth, they would do so from that angle, and they would come back. So it didn't leave a gaping huge hole in the line. It was an angle, and then to the naked eye, 100 yards away or 200 or 300 yards away, you wouldn't necessarily know where that was. You would have to run up here. If you were attacking force, you would have to run up at it and then find it on the fly. And that's even if you could get that far. But it was for the defenders. We're looking at it obviously from the front, from an attacking point. So that gives you a better idea of what we're looking at. I can't. There it is. Okay, good. There we go. The sun's shining on my viewfinder. That is for cannon. That opening there is for cannon. That was for battery. And this is just a small little section, a microcosm of this whole 3 miles long would have been this, and much more extensive. So that's pretty neat. It's a pretty cool little representation. They've given you some sort of a visual idea here at this park of what that looked like back in the day. This is still on the site. We're less than probably about a half a mile from the original works, but we're still on the preserve. And this, I think too, now that I'm looking at it, this gives you a really good representation of what it would have looked like actually back in the day. Everything behind that would have been clear. Everything in front of it would have been clear. Maybe a small tree here and a small tree there, but for the most part, this was deforested. They used the wood for their fortification and for their fires. And fires were a very important aspect, especially in February in North Florida. It would have been chilly at night, so not freezing cold, but chilly. So anyway, we're going to shut this bad boy down and move on to the next stop.